I want to share something with you that has had a profound effect on me. If you stay watching, you will realize why I'm recording this video and what my message is. I'm the creator of my 3-day Quantum Leap Challenge, which teaches you how to set up and launch your own online business with affiliate marketing and digital marketing. I want to share with you what happened to me on Thursday evening, December 21st. On Thursday evening, I had a call with one of our members. I finished the call and I just said to myself, you know what? Just leave everything, let it be. You can carry on tomorrow, go to bed. I'm not sure what woke me up, but as I opened my eyes, I looked straight in the barrel of a gun. And there were 3 guys standing in my bedroom. One with a gun, who was pointing at me. 2 others with knives. They weren't big guys. They weren't big, muscular or anything. They were small built, not too tall. And I immediately realized it doesn't matter how small they are. If somebody points a gun at you, he's your boss at that moment. He determines what happens. And I just put up my hands and said, I'm not doing anything. I was alone. I was by myself. I was completely alone. I was able to know that I must just stay calm. I mustn't try to react. I mustn't aggravate them. And immediately one of them jumped onto the bed. He turned me on my side. He pulled my arms behind my back. And they tied my hands behind my back. And then one of them stayed with me. And the other 2 left the room. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, after all you've been through, after your past experiences, is this the way it's going to end here tonight? Is this the end? Is this how it's going to end? And it wasn't long, and the other 2 came back into the room, and they had several pairs of my shoes in their arms. And they started taking out the shoelaces. And then the one climbed on the bed again, and he proceeded to tie my hands even tighter with those shoelaces. And they tied my feet. So I was really completely immobilized and absolutely powerless. It's hard to explain what goes through your mind at that point. Memories suddenly came flooding through. Memories from the past, good times, bad times. One stayed in the room with me throughout the whole process. He was one with a knife. And he stayed in the room with me. And the other 2 were ransacking the house. And I could hear things happening in the house. And I soon realized that they were obviously starting to take things like the TVs and things off the walls. And the one with the gun came back in the room and he pointed at me again and said, where do you keep your weapons? Where do you keep your cash? Where do you keep your jewelry? And I answered him, I don't have weapons in the house. And I said, I don't keep jewelry. I'm too old for jewelry. Jewelry doesn't bother me. And I never keep cash in the house. And for some reason, he believed me. And he asked me, where's your car keys? And I told him where my car keys were. And he left the room. I could hear shuffling around, things being moved around. And I could see the guy in the room was looking out the door. And I realized they were taking whatever they were taking and putting that into my own vehicle. They were all over, going through things and taking things. And then suddenly it became quiet in the house. There was no shuffling around anymore and anything. And they called the 3rd one that was in the room with me. They were about to leave. And they locked me in my bedroom. Lights were turned off, and they locked me inside the bedroom. And I thought, okay, I've got a chance to survive this. It doesn't look like they're gonna hurt me. Then I heard the vehicle start, and after a little bit, I could hear the vehicle start moving, and it went up to the gate, and I could hear the sliding gate being opened, and then I heard the vehicle slowly drive off, and I was left there alone in the room in the darkness, because when they came in, they immediately closed the curtains and everything. So I didn't even have light from the outside shining into the room or anything. The TV that was on wasn't there anymore to give me some sort of light. And it was completely dark. And I realized that in the process, they'd also gone to my bedside table and opened the drawers and everything, looking for whatever, jewelry or whatever. And I remembered that sometimes I go to bed at night, I would take a piece of biltong while I'm watching TV. And for those of you who don't know what biltong is, it's beef jerky. And I realized I have 2 pocket knives in the drawer of my bedside table. Maybe it's still there, but how do I get to it? And I decided the only thing I can really do is try and roll off the bed, fall out of bed, and then try to get myself at least in a sitting position. So that's what I did. I rolled and I fell out of bed, and I rolled a bit again to be able to sit up. I pushed my back against the bed and kept pushing till I was sitting up. And then I managed to turn myself so my back was to the bedside table, and I could get my hands up, lift it up a little bit, and I could start scratching through the drawer of my bedside table. And fortunately, I did find one of those knives, and I managed to cut myself loose, cut my hands loose, and afterwards I could cut my feet loose. And I stood up and I turned on the light in the bedroom, and I'd been locked in the bedroom. I thought, how do I get out of this room now? And I walked into my walk-in closet, and some years ago on an overseas trip, I bought some ornamental swords there. And the one sword was lying on the floor in its sheath. And I took that, and with that, I was able to force open the bedroom door. But everything was gone. Cell phones, laptops, computer, TVs, cameras, everything was gone. I realized I needed to get help. And my closest neighbor is about a mile away from me. And I thought, okay, only way is to walk there. And I started walking, and eventually I got to the fence. But I didn't know what to expect on the east side if I had to climb through the fence. So I started yelling. I just started screaming, calling his name. And I kept calling and calling, because I was still probably a quarter of a mile from his house. The fence is about a quarter of a mile from his house. And I just started calling, and eventually I heard his dogs bark. And I thought, okay, at least now the dogs will wake them up. And I kept calling, and eventually I heard somebody call back. But to cut a long story short, is he recognized my voice eventually after I identified myself, and I told him, said I needed help and that he should call the police. And he obviously did that. And I started walking back home, and it probably took him at least an hour to get here, because he wasn't going to come over on his own by himself. So he was calling around, getting people to come and help and getting the police. And so eventually they pitched up here all together. All I could do is sit and wait for help to arrive. And eventually around 2 o'clock in the morning, they pitched up here. I don't know how many cars here and how many police vehicles were here. And I obviously didn't go to bed again. The police left here probably by 5 o'clock in the morning. So the last days have been a real roller coaster for me, between the emotions that kept surfacing, the thought of how different things could have ended, and then trying to get some normality back in my life. Things like replacing a laptop, getting a cell phone, getting a new SIM card, dealing with insurance, dealing with police. I'm not going to say I'm the bravest person there is, but I have to move forward. I have to continue. I can't look over my shoulder. I can't move forward if I'm looking backwards. Despite it being a roller coaster, we continue. And now you may be wondering, why am I doing this video? Why am I talking about this? The reason I'm doing this is because I kept thinking to myself over the last 2 days, just things could have ended so much differently. I was fortunate once again to survive. And the fact of what happened just reminded me of why I started doing this sort of business. Why I got involved in affiliate marketing, digital marketing. Why did I create a program? And the reason I created this program and the reason I got involved is after I lost my farm, all my pension money that was invested in the farm didn't have a fixed income anymore. And at the time I was 56, and I knew I wouldn't get employment at my age, not meaningful employment in any case. And the only way would be for me to do something online, because I didn't have money to create a brick and mortar type of business again. And the reason I wanted to do that, the reason I needed, except for day-to-day survival, the reason I wanted to create a business is, and this is where my why comes in. They always say, know your why. Know the reason you're doing these things. What is it that motivates you? Way beyond money or anything. And my why still is, I wanted to grow old with dignity. I didn't want to be a burden on anybody. I wanted to be able to provide for myself. obviously for my loved ones as well. So that was my one why. Being able to grow old with dignity, not be a burden. My second why was I wanted to leave this country, okay, which I still do, but even more so now. And I guess what I'm trying to say with this video is, number one is, this whole incident made me realize once again how in a blink of an eye, everything can change. I was fortunate, but things happen and it may change your life forever. And I realized once again, we get complacent. We say, okay, this is the way life is. It's shit, but it's the way it is. And we get complacent. And then we have these thoughts of doing something special, like an online business or something. And very often it starts off with, I want to make some extra money. But the reason we do this is much deeper than money. Because money can just be a tool to get to what it is you actually want. Whether it's like me, to just grow old with dignity. And I realized that when your why is strong enough, that why, that motivator, is strong enough to take you through any hardships. So I could have gone and sat down and said, no, I give up, but I didn't. And I still don't, because it made me focus again on my why of wanting to leave this country. And that's what's giving me the strength to push through, okay? Despite hardships, despite things that happen, despite hard work, despite the inconvenience of it sometimes, despite the fact that you can't always do the things you want to do because there are things you have to do. But we all get complacent. We say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it the day after, I'll do it next week, next month, next year. But things can change in a blink of an eye. And what you may be able to do now, you may not be able to do tomorrow. So I wanted to make this video to stress to anybody who is even considering this type of business, to think very strongly about why. Because as I say, it's not money. Money can only be a tool to achieve something else. So your why is much deeper than money. And if your why is strong enough, you'll push through and you'll become successful. But it also brought back to me the urgency of me wanting to leave this place, and I'll push even harder now in my business to make that reality. So I guess what I'm saying is, don't let life pass you by. Don't put off for tomorrow, for next week and next month and next year what you can do today, because you never know whether you're going to see it tomorrow. And if you keep putting it off, then nothing will ever change. Everything will be the same as it is. You'll still work your 9 to 5. You'll still, I don't know, hate your boss. You'll still, whatever. You'll still be missing out on family fun. You'll still be missing out on being present while your kids grow up. So I hope if this can serve as any sort of inspiration for anybody, then it was well worthwhile making this video. And I didn't do this. I didn't do this video for sympathy or anything like that. Quite the contrary. I wanted to do this video to try and inspire you. If you're wanting to make a change in your life, don't let the grass grow under your feet. Do it. Grab the opportunity. Do it. You all stay safe, and God bless.